All right, page 192, Anna, the shy one. I pumped my legs back and forth on the swings. I needed to get some momentum going so that I wasn't just sitting with my feet dangling in the puddle below me. Danielle, Jessica, and Lexi sat on swings too. Danielle right next to me. It was nice to be outside for recess again now that the snow was gone. Charlie was at my house when I got home from school yesterday, I said. Danielle's pumping stopped. Mom told me they were just sharing a cup of coffee and some conversation. Danielle pumped slowly again, but she still didn't say anything. If Charlie marries my mom, what would that make us? I went on. Sisters! Danielle put her feet down and hopped off her swing. She turned to me, my pumping slow. Was something wrong? She looked right at me. Anna, Charlie will never marry your mother, Danielle said. My family would never allow it. I stopped my swing. Jessica and Lexi stopped theirs too. Why? I asked. My family, Danielle started to say, then her chin and her voice lowered. My family doesn't approve of your mother. I felt like I had just gotten run over by Charlie's red truck. My whole body grew weak. But my mom's a good person, I said. I know, Danielle said. She scuffed the mud with her foot, but it's not that easy. If it weren't for Mr. Terupt's accident, I don't think I would have ever been allowed to go over to your house. I learned something that day. Even after all this time, my mom was still ostracized for something that happened long ago. And because I had contributed to Mr. Terupt's accident, I was going to pay for it the rest of my life. The next chapter is Jessica, the new girl. Act 10, Scene 2. I discovered another reason for Mr. Terupt's predicament the day Anna and Danielle and I were on the swings. A reason bigger than simply getting Danielle over to Anna's house. That was only a start. Just like Mr. Terupt had helped Lexi reunite with Anna, Danielle, and me, I had to wonder if maybe Mr. Terupt's accident was going to help Danielle's family accept Anna and her mother. I hoped so. The next chapter is Jeffrey, the slacker. Boring day after boring day puttered by. Life was back to normal where everything sucked. We all thought about the same thing but never talked about it. Not everybody together. Little groups whispered here and there, but that was it. I didn't participate. Too many bad, scary memories. Then something happened to break the silence. Jessica, the new girl. Act 10, Scene 3. Enter Miss Kelsey. I came up here today to share some news with all of you, she said, a smile on her face. How could she smile like that? Didn't she know? James is going to be leaving school. More sad news, I thought. Great. This is wonderful for James. He's been doing so well in school. He now has a chance to join a classroom like yours in the town where he lives. We stayed quiet. I knew I was supposed to be happy for James, but I didn't feel excited about anything right now. I think everyone felt the same way. Miss Kelsey started to look puzzled. She didn't understand our silence, but Mrs. Williams gave her an encouraging nod. The collaborative classroom would like to invite all of you to a surprise going away party for James, Miss Kelsey went on. You've invited us to so much and done so much for us that we decided it was our turn to invite you to something. Plus, James loves you. You guys really made the difference. You're the reason he's improved and gets to move on. We made the difference. It felt good for a second, but then I thought about how none of this would have happened if it weren't for Mr. Terupt. I couldn't feel happy about anything, not without my teacher. The next chapter is Jeffrey, the slacker. Miss Kelsey brought us good news and it fired me up. James is leaving, she said. How was that supposed to be good news? Everybody I ended up liking, I ended up losing. Why did I even bother trying? The next chapter is Luke, the brain. We made our way down to the collaborative classroom. It was James's going away party. I wanted to be happy for him, but it was so difficult. Terrible, worrisome news, Mr. Terupt, plus happy party James did not equal happy Luke. Invasive species are organisms that are introduced into a new environment. Since they have no natural predators there, they thrive. They suck up all the resources, leaving nothing for the organisms that were there first. The native species suffer and die. Going down to the collaborative classroom, I was afraid that our whole class would act as the invasive species, sucking up all the happiness with our sour attitudes. Lucky for us, the antidote was present at the party. The lights clicked on. Surprise! We yelled when James walked in. His face beamed. I automatically smiled too, and then it happened. James walked over to Peter and gave him a hug that shattered, his shield. Everybody stopped and watched. This was the first time any of us had really looked at Peter since the accident. We had each made the choice to make him invisible, but now we saw him. James finally let go and stepped back. He looked into Peter's eyes. Peter, not your fault, not your fault. James's voice rose. Peter! Now he yelled, not your fault! Accident! Accident! The room was dead quiet, holding its breath. Peter began crying, softly at first, but then he lost it. His entire body shook with each sob. I couldn't be a silent onlooker any longer. I stepped forward. James is right, Peter, I said. It's not all your fault. I told everyone about Mr. Terupt's early concussions and the bleeding and the looming surgery. Besides, I said, Peter threw the snowball because of me. I cried now too. Accepting responsibility can make you do that, I guess. I hugged Peter right there on the spot. I walked over and hugged my Elmer's sneakers nemesis, and then our crying classmates hugged us. Thank you, James. The next chapter is Alexia, the queen bee. Isn't it weird that Peter called them retards way back when Teach first told us that we were going to work with them? And then it was like one of the retards helped save Peter? We're lucky some people are so full of goodness. Like Jessica and Anna and Danielle. I was mean to them, but now we're all friends again. I'm lucky. I was lonely without them. I bet Peter was lonely too, but none of us did anything about it until James said something. Then I felt bad for Peter. I gave him a hug. He didn't deserve to be all alone. It feels good being nice. I like it better than being the old Lexi. I hope Teach gets to see how he helped me. The next chapter is Jeffrey, the slacker. Things happen for a reason. Jessica told me that. I didn't hate Peter. Even if I wasn't smiling on the outside, he had me laughing on the inside a lot. He just liked to have fun. And the good fun went real bad on him that day in the snow. That's all. It wasn't his fault. James told us that. James had more courage, more good heart in him than any of us smart kids. I don't know if James's words alone would have been enough, but then cool man Luke came to the rescue. Not just Peter's rescue, but all our rescues. We needed that talk. Thanks to James and Luke, we started to. Things happen for a reason. I can't find all the reasons. We did everything we did with the collaborative classroom. How did it lead to this moment? Is this why it all happened? Why did it have to be Peter? And why did it have to be our teacher in a coma? Was it so that I would learn that life isn't fair sometimes? Because I learned that a long time ago with Michael.